Um, yeah, kind of one of those mornings, just trying to figure things out, right? So anyway, um, happy Christmas this week. Merry Christmas. It's only a couple of days away, so hopefully you have all of your Christmas shopping done, right? Uh-huh. Buy local. Anyway, over the weekend or last week, actually, I had a conversation with a gentleman named Tom Ruwich, and I bought his book called Story Power Marketing. You should get this. Okay, so get the book, and here's why. So years and years ago, I worked in network marketing, worked with a couple of different companies, and the very first thing, amongst the first things, I won't say the very first thing, but amongst the first things they taught was facts sell. I'm sorry, facts tell and stories sell. Like, okay, cool. So collect as many stories as you can. Then when you're selling, tell the story and the story will sell for you. Great. Great advice. So I quit doing network marketing. I don't know how many years ago, but um, as I was building my other companies, I always was thinking, it's like, what stories? I don't have any stories. My life is just like everybody else's life. It's just an ordinary life, right? Um, and I go back and I raced bicycles and referee volleyball and do these things. The things that we do, we think are normal, ordinary things. We don't, a lot of times, we don't put a lot of real credence or stock into the things that we do on a normal daily basis because it's the things we do. Um, so after reading this book, I started thinking, what stories do I have? Again, coming up with roadblock after roadblock. And in the book, he talks about, creating your story vault and come up with things that people can relate to. I'm like, what the heck do I have that people relate to? Nothing. I mean, who can relate to riding a bike unless you're 4 years old? I mean, every little 4 year old kid can relate to riding a bike, but how many people can relate to riding a bike? I didn't turn professionally, but let's just assume that. How many people can relate to riding a bike professionally? Not very many. I mean, seriously, not very many people. So that didn't make sense. How many people can relate to refereeing, elite level volleyball? Not very many people. So that didn't make sense. So my world, as you probably know, revolves around a lot to do with AI. ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all these different things. I can throw out a whole bunch of names, but who cares? ChatGPT a lot of times is my fallback. So I thought, okay, well, let's use the tools. So I had ChatGPT interview me this morning and came up with a whole bunch of stories and things that I completely forgot about. I went back to 4 years old. I just came up with another memory. But I was 4 years old. We lived in this house on Newman Street in Huntington Beach, California, and my dad built me a sandbox. My dad was always proud of the things that he built. He overbuilt this sandbox, no question, because I remember to this day it was a blue sandbox, and my dog Shiloh and I played in my sandbox. And as far as I remember, Shiloh was my first dog. So, but I used to imagine things. Now think about this. This is 1972. We just went to the moon. Some people think not, but I'm going to believe that we did. We just went to the moon. Space is still really high up on people's minds. At least as a little kid, I wasn't worried about economy and price of gas and all of this stuff, that my parents and all the adults in the world were thinking of at the time. I wanted to be an astronaut or a knight in shining armor. Those were the things that I was thinking about. Those are the kinds of questions that ChatGPT was coming up with for me to answer. And I was just looking at the timestamp, and it actually, we had this conversation for about 40 minutes. And it's just thing after thing after thing that I didn't think about ever being story worthy. in a way that relates to business today. Like, how do I use that to talk about AI and how AI can help your small business? I don't know, but I created a 40-minute vault of stories going back clear to 1974. And the other memory that I came up with, we had a neighbor at the end of the street who had a motorcycle, and I didn't want to ride on the motorcycle. I was scared of the motorcycle, and he called me a sissy. And not to be called a sissy when I was 4 years old, I got on the motorcycle and he rode me around the dirt field. That dirt field isn't there anymore, as far as I know. I think it's a bunch of apartments. But yeah, so just these random memories. So then I asked ChatGPT, it's like, well, how do we make you know business relevant stories out of these random things, like how I started racing bicycles, or how I started reffing volleyball, or when I started my whole entrepreneurial stuff, which actually started in about 1975. I was 5 years old. The first thing I remember is charging my neighbor kids 25 cents to come and watch The Wizard of Oz. So just these random things. So anyway, so what I'm trying to say, if you can't think of things to tell stories about or relate stories from your past into your business or things that you're trying to share with people, go get Tom Ruwich's book, Story Power Marketing. I'll share it with you one more time. Go get it. It's not expensive. It was $7 or whatever, free plus shipping. And I actually had a chance to talk with Tom last week. He's a great guy. A lot of insight on how to tell stories. So go get that. I don't make any money from it. It doesn't matter. It's worth having. And yeah, look for some more stories coming out, here in the future. Probably more written than anything else. But just wanted to share that with you. If you don't think you have stories, have ChatGPT interview you. You'll find all sorts of things. And then when you're done, ask it to relate that to whatever you do. So if you're in network marketing, how does this relate to network marketing? If you're in real estate, how can I relate this to real estate? If you're in professional speaking, how do I relate this? If you're, a truck driver, how do I relate this? My dad was a roofer. I can tell you right now, there are stories that I have that I can relate to other roofers, because I started when I was 5 years old, 5 or 6 years old was the first time I was on a roof. So anyway, that's it today. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your family. Don't get on the internet. Seriously, don't do Facebook on Christmas Day. Spend time with the people that actually matter in your world and post all your stuff the next day. It can wait. But that is my moral story or announcement or whatever. I mean, do whatever you want. I'm just saying you shouldn't do it. Anyway, have a great rest of your